"Guess who called today?" Mia asked, kicking off her shoes and sitting next to me on the couch. She placed her feet on my lap and raised a suggestive eyebrow. I got the hint. I took one of her legs and placed it on my lap. Mia loved foot massages. Her feet always hurt from the high heels she wore in the law office where she worked as a paralegal. No amount of coaxing could get her to wear flat shoes. She said that this sacrifice was worth the self-esteem she received, looking fine. Funny parodying the accent, she laughed and said, "This is boo important. How do I feel okay?" Forcing my thoughts back to her question, I replied, "No idea." I ran my hand over her toned calf, squeezed it, and slowly moved my hand down to her foot. My wife of 30 years, to whom I had been married for 5 years, purred, "Oh, that's nice. Oh, Courtney Barnes. You remember her, don't you? We met her and her husband Jake at dance class at our gym." Oh yes, I thought. Our famous dance lessons are enough once and for all. Mia and I thought learning to dance would be fun. We talked about this forever. Then, last month, we found out that our local sports center was offering inexpensive courses. We signed up, went to the introductory class, had a great time, and, unfortunately, never returned. Subsequent class schedules conflicted with our work schedules and caring for our 2 young children. Not a complete failure. We had fun, learned a few moves, and met several other couples, including Jake and Courtney. Of course I remember them. What did she want? They want us to go dancing with them this Friday night. Us? Seriously? I'm surprised they even remember us. I frowned, then grinned. Of course, how stupid of me. Now I understand. Understood what? Why do they remember us? I paused so Mia could worry a little. It's because I'm so manly and handsome. Mia rolled her eyes. I was joking, but there was some truth in my answer. They probably remembered us because of our looks, but not mine. Mia had a tall, slender silhouette, a beautiful face, piercing brown eyes, long black hair, and perpetually tanned skin thanks to her Mediterranean heritage. This complete set attracted glances and earned husbands spanks for staring. She stood out in any room. On the other hand, maybe these are my courageous good traits. I giggled. No, it was definitely Mia. She continued. I told her I'll ask you and let them know. What do you think? They seemed pretty nice, and we'll never get better if we don't practice. Mia smiled. We talked about going dancing for a few weeks after that class. Courtney said they like to go dancing in Oaklawn. There are 3 different dance clubs on the same block. You can move from one to another, and the biggest club is huge, 3 floors with 2 dance floors and different music for each zone. It occupies almost half a block. Sounds fun. Oaklawn? This is an area for gay men. I asked her about it. She said the main club, a big one with 2 dance rooms, is for everyone. Well, technically all 3 clubs are for everyone, but one club is mostly for men and the other for women. She said it's fun to go to these clubs and watch people, but she promised that we would spend most of our time in a big club. I've never been to a club like this. It might be interesting to spend a few minutes there and say I've been to one. Okay, I agree, but don't blame me if one of the guys tries to steal me from you. I'm a big catch, you know. I winked. She rolled her eyes again, then placed her other foot on my lap. I smiled and massaged her other leg. Over the next few days of phone calls and texts, our plan for Friday changed from just dancing to dinner and then dancing. We agreed to meet at an Italian restaurant in Lower Greenville, after which we would follow them to dance clubs in Auckland. As always, Mia had been worrying about what to wear all week. On Friday, Mia came home from work 2 hours earlier than usual, so she could have more time to shower and style her hair, as well as get a manicure and pedicure. I watched her getting ready and preening with a strange mixture of feelings. My beautiful wife was preparing to look her best, but I was jealous because she was preparing not only for me. We will undoubtedly change partners when we dance. An alarming thought, a premonition, crept into my head. I tried to push this thought away. I've never felt jealous before. Why should tonight be any different? My mind tried to rationalize the irrational thought. Maybe it's because we rarely go dancing. Maybe because we are dating another couple who are practically strangers. Strange. I shook my head to rid myself of unwanted worries. Knowing that Mia was preparing to look good, including for another man, a competitive spirit arose in me. I was in reasonable shape for a guy with an office job. But with a wife like Mia, I never wanted to become complacent. I studied myself in the bathroom mirror. At 6 feet 1 inch tall, I was not small. I sucked in my stomach and told myself that 210 pounds wasn't that bad for a man my size. However, maybe I should go to the gym more often to strengthen my abs, biceps, and pecs. Maybe I should take up running. Mia looked and saw me studying myself. She teased, "Stop staring. Hasn't this mirror been damaged enough yet?" I grinned. Someone's in a playful mood today. She returned the smirk and continued her preparations. I went into the bedroom and quickly finished my preparations: shirt, trousers, socks, and shoes. Then I had fun playing games on my phone until she showed up in a towel. Then I had fun watching her decide what to wear. She had been thinking about it all week, but an hour before leaving, she still couldn't decide. The first solution, of course, is underwear. For something invisible, the choice required an incredible amount of thought. She gave me the reason when I asked her why it was taking so long. Beautiful lingerie makes me sexy, even if no one sees it. And it has to match the spirit of the occasion and the type of clothing I'm wearing. Women. Well, yes. I leaned back and watched with that curious but disinterested expression that appears from time to time on the faces of all husbands everywhere. She settled on a floaty black lace bra with a front clasp and matching black lace panties that were sheer and see-through. She put them on, adjusted her bra, and walked over to the chair where I was watching without a care in the world. She turned in front of me. Damn, she was hot. With a flirtatious wink, she asked, "What do you think, big boy?" "I am delighted," I responded enthusiastically. She leaned over, smiled, and patted my knee in a soft, protective manner, the lacy fabric of her bra inches from my eyes, her perfume intoxicating. "Oh, honey, I didn't ask if you were excited, I asked what you thought." I blinked in confusion. She leaned even closer and whispered in my ear, "I'm asking, what do you think Jake will like?" She giggled and walked back to her closet. "Very funny," I shouted after her. "Yes, definitely a playful mood." She later stepped out in a silver satin cowboy blouse tucked into her skinny Wrangler pants. Ideal for country dancing. I noticed that the top 3 buttons of her loose blouse were undone. As she bent over to put on her colorful cowboy boots, the loose fabric fell open, giving anyone nearby a view of her cleavage. Seeing how loose her blouse fit, I couldn't help myself. "Sweetheart, maybe you should fasten a few buttons. This blouse flies open when you bend over." She laughed. "Honey, I know. We spent, what, $6,000 on these breasts? I'm not about to let that money go to waste." The buttons were left undone. I thought again about her earlier joke. Maybe Jake would actually like this, I thought uncomfortably. I watched as she applied shiny pink lipstick to her gorgeous full lips. The color matched her newly painted pink fingernails and toenails perfectly. To add the finishing touches to her sexy dance outfit, she wore the diamond earrings and necklace I gave her for our recent anniversary. "I'm ready," she announced. We arrived at the restaurant early and took a table, telling the head waiter that we were expecting friends. We placed the coats on the backs of 2 unused chairs at our table to prevent other patrons from trying to take them. We enjoyed the drinks and the atmosphere of the crowded restaurant for about 10 minutes until they arrived. I had forgotten how amazing Courtney looked until she walked in. Long blonde hair, blue eyes, and a slender 5'6" figure. Not at all like my 5'4", snub-nosed, brown-eyed, dark-haired Italian wife. Jake was also quite attractive. Also fair, about 5 feet 11 inches tall, he was shorter than me, slender and fit. They were about our age, in their early 30s. They looked like a good couple. "Don't stare," Mia warned, seeing my eyes glued to Courtney. They sat down. We exchanged greetings. Jake took the lead, as he would do all evening. "It's good to see you guys. It's a shame you couldn't finish your dance classes. Scheduling conflicts, I noted with a shrug. Courtney and I really wanted to get to know you better, but I guess that's what we'll do tonight. He smiled. So, Mark, you work for Texas Instruments, right? Yes. Software, mostly missile navigation systems, classified materials. I could tell you more, but then I'd have to kill you. It was a hackneyed joke, but in my case, it was partly true. Everyone laughed. I returned the question to him. And you, Jake? Well, I recently bought a used car dealership. It's on I-30 in Mesquite. Oh, really? My uncle is a used car dealer. Sometimes I go with him to the wholesale auction in South Dallas. He signed me up as a driver to drive cars to his lot. I love it. I'm a car guy. These auctions are what it is. With something. Jake laughed. The first time I went to one of them, I was afraid to move. If I got an itch, I stood there and endured the itch, too afraid that if I scratched it, I'd become the proud owner of a beat-up station wagon. I looked at Mia. She seemed pleased that the conversation was going smoothly. She took a sip of wine and smiled at me. I looked at Jake again. You said you recently bought a car dealership, and before that? Courtney laughed and looked at Mia. You'll never guess. What is it with women and guessing? I give up what? I answered with a smile. Courtney laughed again, waited a moment to build tension, and blurted out, he was a Baptist minister. My jaw dropped. Surprise was visible on my face. On Mia's face, too. Personality Jake, for the short time that we knew him, was far from spiritual. This is crazy, isn't it? Courtney said, laughing. I mean, he's not even religious. Neither of us are religious. But it was an easy life. I looked at Jake. He shrugged, grinned, and admitted, like she said, it was a way to make money. I needed a job, and I saw an ad for a minister at a small evangelical church. I thought, I can do this. I walked in, told them that I'm an ordained priest, and got the job. Fake it till you make it. That's my motto. I knew it wouldn't last, but for a while it was. He and Courtney laughed again. Courtney explained, Jake is a natural showman, charming as hell. That's one of the things that attracted me to him. She touched his hand. He preached like no one else. She paused to emphasize the irony of her words. He struck his Bible, jumped from the pulpit, walked into the ranks, and looked the congregation straight in the face. He warned them not to blaspheme, threatening the eternal fire and brimstone, the wrath of Almighty God. Then he smiled and gently promised sweet salvation to those who showed their love for Jesus, measured, of course, by their donations to the church. He is a born showman and loved theatrics. He can be so charming. Charming and disarming. He can make people say yes before they even hear the question. She looked at him lovingly. He winked. She finished. Now he's using that charm to sell cars. Quietly, I wondered about the character of an irreligious used car salesman who doesn't mind pretending to be a man of God for the sake of making money. Apparently, he doesn't care what he says or does to get what he wants. I decided that I would buy my used cars elsewhere. Courtney seemed devoted, almost deferential, to continue the religious theme to her husband. She looked at Jake, happy that he was the center of attention, while she played the role of his #1 fan. Her gaze finally returned to us. I work as an accountant at a car dealership, she added, taking a sip of her drink. We learned that they were both from Dallas and got married right out of high school. We told them about my West Texas heritage and how I met Mia 4 years ago in Lubbock at a regional Toastmasters conference. Mia and I both struggle with public speaking, I explained. Apparently not a problem for Jake, I thought, imagining him walking through the aisles of the church, shouting parables to a room full of parishioners completely unaware of his apocryphal beliefs and behavior. We explained that Mia was from Plano, where we now live. She has many relatives in the area, and they are all very close to each other. Italian families, they need to be loved. Mia mostly listened. Of the 4 of us, she was the most reserved when she was sober. Sobriety is key. She had an almost split personality, quiet and conservative when sober, wild, dancing on tables after a few too many drinks. She always regretted the loss of control. She's apologized to me several times over the years for awkward antics, most of which I found more funny than boring. She tried to moderate her drinking. Unfortunately, part of her loved drinking, despite the effect it had on her. A deeply social creature, she loved to go out, relax with alcohol, listen and laugh, be at a party, or, if drunk, her very soul. Sometimes her caustic humor manifested itself through some funny remark, inserted seemingly at random, reminding everyone that, despite her restraint, the girl in the corner was very much following events. The conversation became animated and then died down. Mia and Courtney talked to each other for a while Jake and I had our own conversation. All in all, a fairly normal introductory meeting for two couples. At least that's what I thought then. After dinner, we went outside to the restaurant parking lot. I whistled when I saw the car Jake arrived in. "Damn it," I exclaimed. "Is this a Plymouth Barracuda?" Jake beamed. "A fully restored 1971 Cuda. Cost $14 isn't just to paint. It's a true plum crazy color, the most popular color for this model. 6 coats of varnish on top to get that deep shine. She's my pride and joy. I fucking love that car." Courtney intervened. "Don't ask Jake to choose between me and this car. I don't want to know the answer," she said, laughing. "I display it on the podium in front of the car show all day. It attracts a lot of curious people, but it is not for sale. I am the only one who drives this miracle." After that little introduction to his other love, Mia and I took our car and followed Jake and Courtney into the parking lot a block away from the clubs. After we paid for parking, we began a short walk down the street. We had only walked a few steps when Jake stopped us. "I have a new security system that I sell at the car dealership, and of course I installed it on my Cuda. Look." We watched until a couple walked past his car. Jake pressed the button. A loud male voice connected to large external speakers boomed, "Get away from the car." The pair jumped back. Jake burst out laughing. He insisted that we wait until the other couple approached the car. Jake pressed the button twice, and a voice boomed, "Move away from the car. The police will be notified." Again, the pair jumped back. Jake burst out laughing again. "Does this system actually call the police?" I asked. "It's a 71 muscle car, not a Tesla. There's no computer or anything, just a few motion sensors that activate a recorded message. It's not that advanced." Courtney laughed. "It's like the fancy security system Jake installed at the car dealership. A bunch of old cameras he bought at a thrift store aren't connected to anything. Hey, people can see the cameras. That's enough. Connecting them to a central computer with a monitor and a recording system would cost too much. No need, like with this machine. Look, there's another pair coming here. I have 2 more phrases recorded." "Show us later," I replied, rubbing my hands. "It's cold." Jake seemed disappointed that I didn't want to wait in the cold January wind to watch more innocent bystanders get scared by his car. Courtney gave him a look colder than the north wind. He took the hint, reluctantly removed the keychain, and we moved on. As we walked, Jake regaled us with stories about life at a used car dealership. He mentioned that last week his worker went to get a free car wash for a client. While leaving the car wash, when the glass was flooded with water, the worker drove into a pole. "There's no monopoly on incompetence," he said, laughing. "We're still arguing over whose insurance will pay for what." I immediately thought, your employee crashed a client's car, and you're arguing about who will pay for it. We passed 2 clubs before we got to our place. They weren't exaggerating. The place turned out to be even larger than I expected. We took a quick tour to see both dance areas, each of which had a second floor with a balcony from which to watch the dancers. In addition to the 2 main 2-story dance areas, there was a more intimate lounge area on the 3rd floor. The second floor around the balcony was mostly for observation and had small tables along the walls. The second floor also contained DJ booths for each dance floor, from where DJs could watch the dancers, assess the atmosphere, and adjust the music to the tastes of the audience. Jake told us that they had been to this club several times and became friends with one of the DJs. The first floor was occupied mainly by those who planned to dance a lot. We chose a booth on the first floor of the venue where the DJ played mostly country western and slow pop that was easy to dance to. A crowd filled the tables near the dance floor, forcing us to sit some distance away and down the hallway. We could hear the music but didn't see the dance floor itself. We took off our coats and settled into a cozy booth. The waitress appeared. Jake insisted on ordering a magnum of champagne at his expense to celebrate meeting new people. After he ordered champagne, we chatted, mostly about dancing. "We were sorry you quit," Courtney told us. "Kids, work, too many conflicts," I said with a shrug. "What did we miss?" Courtney and Jake told us about their attempts to learn waltz, swing, and salsa. "I love salsa," Jake put in with a wink. "Why am I not surprised? The champagne has arrived." "They put a lot into those 5 subsequent sessions," Jake volunteered. "Today we'll show you everything we can remember, right, Courtney?" "Of course," she agreed. "We need practice too. Actually, Jake, why don't you show my something right now? It's a good song they play." Jake looked at his wife and left the booth. He extended his hand. "Can I ask you to dance?" he asked my wife. She looked at me. I shrugged and stood up to make room for her. She slid outside and took Jake's hand. The two of them walked past several tables and booths, turned right at the corner, and headed toward the dance floor. "Would you like to dance?" I asked Courtney as she took a sip of her drink. She took a sip and replied modestly, "Yes, but I'd like to wait a little while for dinner to settle down, if that's okay." "Of course," I replied. "So tell me, what do you like besides dancing?" Courtney smiled and started telling me about her yoga practice. While we were talking, a lady our age walked past us, stopped, and squealed, "Courtney." Courtney looked up and squealed back, "Emma." Courtney jumped out of the booth. The two friends hugged and started talking at 90 miles an hour. I realized that they were school friends from the distant past. Emma told Courtney that she and a few other old friends were upstairs. Courtney turned and asked, "Do you mind if I go see my friends? I haven't seen them in ages. Jake and Mia should be back any minute." Their joyful anticipation was comical. Of course, I'll be fine." Both friends rushed upstairs. I looked around the booth. Here I sat, alone. Not completely alone. I had company of all our things. 4 coats, 4 drinks, a magnum of champagne, 2 handbags with their contents, identification, credit cards, and money, and hundreds of strangers around. I sat alone and silently sipped champagne, and he drank, and he drank, and he drank. I played on the phone, fidgeted, and waited, and I waited, and I waited, and he fidgeted. An hour and 40 minutes later, I exhaled a huge sigh. "What the hell? Jake and Mia should be back any minute," she said. "Yes, sure. And you were supposed to be back soon, too. Where the hell is everyone? Jake and Mia went dancing. Then you went to your friends, and no one came back. This fucking sucks." I was trying to understand why everyone was still missing. Imagining myself in Mia's shoes, I thought she was having a great time learning to dance with Jake, and probably thought I was having fun hanging out with Courtney, or perhaps dancing with Courtney like she did with Jake, so I could almost forgive her for being away for so long. Not quite, but almost. Courtney, on the other hand, probably thought Jake and Mia were keeping me company while she caught up with old friends. It was still damn rude to be gone for so long, but to give her a little excuse, she probably never assumed I was alone. So, as angry and annoyed as I was, I could see some justification for the circumstances that led to me sitting alone. There's not enough excuse to stop my anger. An hour and 40 damn minutes? In desperation, I took Mia's bag. I took out her wallet and phone and put them in my pockets and hid the bag under her coat. I reached across the booth and grabbed Courtney's bag, stashing it with Mia's. I took Courtney's and Jake's coats, folding them on top of Mia's coat so that Jake's large coat partially hid the rest of the stuff. I stood up, holding my coat on my arm. "Sorry," I said to the guy sitting at the nearest table. Could you keep an eye on our things while I go to the toilet? My friends will be back soon. And please help yourself to the champagne. Cool, he replied, standing up to pour himself a drink from the Magnum Jake had bought. No problem, he promised. I wasn't too sure there would be anything left when I returned. But by bribing with his champagne and saying that someone would come soon, I might have saved our things for a while. I found selfish satisfaction in the fact that the things left behind mostly belonged to Jake and Courtney. After sitting alone looking after their coat and bag for an hour and 40 minutes, if their belongings suddenly disappeared, it would be on them. I walked down the corridor and turned the corner. I still couldn't see the dance floor. There was a soft crew around the dance floor, supported by a dense wall of people talking and relaxing between dances. Making my way through the crowd, I reached the railing and craned my neck to focus the attention of the many heads in search of a familiar face. Nothing. But I couldn't see everyone at once. The dance floor was large, crowded, and dimly constant. I waited for one more song until the dancers changed, but I still didn't see a familiar face, so I headed upstairs. I crossed the balcony, looking at the dance floor. I turned my head back and forth as I walked, spending time looking for Courtney and her friends at the tables along the wall, looking for Jakey and Mia on the dance floor. In the end, it was all in vain. 20 minutes of searching, and I didn't see a single familiar face. Where the hell is everyone? Frustrated, I returned to our table. All things were in place. The guy who looked after them was not there. Well, okay, still not my problem. I thought about the situation. Going back and sitting like an idiot again didn't appeal to me. To hell with this. I again found solace in the fact that things were mostly Jake and Courtney's and walked into another dance area, repeating the thorough search I had already conducted in the first area. Everything was to no avail, and I didn't find anyone I knew. This time I did not return to our table. I put on my coat and decided to walk down the street, hoping to find them in one of the other clubs. The first club I found was full of guys, all of them dancing country western. Unreal. I don't know what I expected to see in this club, but guys in jeans, boots, and cowboy hats dancing country western with each other was not what I expected. Courtney and Mia would definitely stand out in this place. I could see in a few minutes that they weren't there. The next one was the women's club, or whatever it was called. I liked it better here. I spent another 15 or 20 minutes scurrying here and there before I concluded that no one I knew was there. Finally, I went to the parking lot. My car was there, of course. I have the keys. I was more worried about confirming that Jake's car was there. She was. I walked over to feel the hood. Cold. I thought, as a deep voice said loudly, "Move away from the car. The police will be notified." I jumped a foot and almost peed myself. Damn alarm. A gust of cold wind swept around me. I kicked the bumper and trudged back, cold and pissed as hell. Surprisingly, when I returned to our table, all the things were there. I took off my coat, threw it on a pile at the back of the cabin, and sat down. I have come to terms with it. Their things are here. They must return eventually. I waved to the waitress and ordered a whiskey, no ice. While I waited for the drink, I put Mia's phone and wallet back in her bag and checked the time. It had been 3.5 hours since Courtney left with her friend. Crap. My drink arrived. People watched, gloomily sipping my alcohol, alternating between feelings of confusion, anger, and anxiety. 15 minutes later, Jake and Mia walked cheerfully up to the table, holding hands, happy and laughing. Mia looked flushed. She grabbed her drink and downed it in one long gulp. "I'm so thirsty," she croaked. She saw my gaze. "Where the hell have you been?" I asked. She frowned, puzzled by my attitude. Before answering, she reached for Jake's glass, which was half full, and lifted it to her lips. "I'll tell you later," she whispered hoarsely before draining his glass of champagne again. Her answer didn't assuage my anger, but I wasn't about to make a scene. Not yet. "Did you have a good time?" Mia asked. I snorted. Mia raised her eyebrows. "Where's Courtney?" I snorted. "She went out with an old friend to see other old friends." "Did she take her phone with her?" Jake asked. taking his phone out of his pocket and dialing a number. After a few seconds, he asked, "Hey, honey, where are you?" "Okay, great. See you soon." He turned to us. "She'll be here in a minute." Mia patted my hand. "She'll be back soon, honey." When Courtney returned, 3 of her friends were with her. They stood at the table while Courtney introduced them to us. We chatted for a bit, and then Courtney flirtatiously asked Jake, "So, did you and Mia have fun at the dance?" Jake smiled from ear to ear. "Hell yes. Let me tell you a funny story. During one of the dances, someone stepped on your fingers. I swear it wasn't me." He grinned. "But we figured out a way to avoid this in the future, didn't we, Mia? Let's show them how we dance when it's crowded." She smiled. They both stood up. Courtney stood up with her friends, and I was left alone in the booth again. We all watched to see what he was talking about. Their dance was too intimate. They continued to dance for less than a minute, then laughed. He hugged her tightly, their faces inches apart. In a whisper, he told her, "Thank you for the dance." He then kissed her right in front of everyone. What the hell? I looked at Courtney. My surprise was obvious. She smiled, patted my hand, and explained, "It's okay. All my friends know that Jake can have fun with other women when we go out." Courtney's friends looked at me nervously as Mia and Jake kissed. "Damn it, Courtney. All your friends know that Jake can have fun with other women." "Okay, I got it. Has anyone asked if Mia can have fun with other men?" Judging by the way my friends giggled at my expense, this question also occurred to them. I sat there, too stunned to speak. Embarrassed, humiliated, stunned, dumbfounded. Choose an adjective. My smiling wife stood next to Jake, hugging him. Courtney walked away to chat with her friends. I felt lonelier now than when everyone was away. My heart was pounding. I could almost hear it beating. My knees become weak. My stomach clenched. Without saying a word, I headed to the toilet. I got to the cabin on time. I knelt before the porcelain god and vomited everything I had. Wave after wave of nausea rolled through my torso. I tore up pieces of an expensive Italian dinner. I snatched up expensive drinks. I vomited up the foul acid and then vomited out nothing until my body could vomit nothing more. Exhausted, I leaned my head against the cold porcelain, letting it support my weak body and keep me from falling onto the dirty floor. My head was spinning, tears were streaming down my cheeks. I was breathing deeply and wanting the emotional pain to go away. The guy in the next booth got up, washed his hands, and then came back to pat me on the back. "Are you okay, buddy?" "Not really," I replied, but I still forced myself to get up. "But I'll be fine." He looked at me, frowned, and walked away. I'm sure he mistook me for just another drunkard who couldn't handle his alcohol. I silently wished that it was my problem. I swayed to the sinks, washed my face with cold water several times, then dried myself. I smoothed my hair, took a deep breath, exhaled slowly, and looked at myself. "You can handle it," I told myself. "You're lying," I replied, shaking my head. Black humor. When I returned, they were discussing the best place to practice salsa. One of Courtney's friends caught my eye, blushed, covered her mouth, and turned away, embarrassed to look at me. "You're right," I thought. "I'm the pathetic husband whose wife kissed Jake." I patted Mia on the back. "Are you ready to leave?" Her smile faded. "It's not yet 1 in the morning. They don't close until 2. I'm not in good shape." "About." She looked back reluctantly. "It's okay if you feel bad." She told everyone that we were leaving. Courtney and Jake offered to walk us to the car. I waved it off, saying that we could handle it ourselves. There was no need to leave their friends. With that, Courtney hugged me and Mia. Jake shook my hand, turned and kissed Mia again. One of Courtney's friends giggled. I turned away, ashamed that anyone could see my face. After they separated, Mia whispered, "Wow," blushed and waved goodbye to everyone. Now everything was over, except for the showdown, as they say, and there was a lot of clarification. Mia had no idea how big this revelation would be. Me too. At the moment, I was furious. Time and the answers to the questions will determine how long I will remain angry. I've learned my lessons not to jump to premature conclusions without all the information. Honey, could you drive the car? I asked as we approached the parking lot, handing her the keys. Are you so sick that you can't drive? I'm so sorry. Of course. Yeah, I think I'll lay back and close my eyes and let my stomach settle. As if it were possible. My stomach felt like I had suddenly been punched in the stomach by George Foreman. I wanted to rest, sleep, and escape from this nightmare. But rest and sleep were far away. My mind began to swirl, bouncing from one thought to the next like rocks bouncing across the surface of a pond. Before rest could come, I needed answers. First of all, why the hell did she spend 4 hours alone with Jake? Why did she think this was normal? What the hell happened in those 4 hours? Why did she let him kiss her like that in front of everyone? Didn't she hear Courtney's friends giggling while I stood there like an idiot? Why did she treat me so disrespectfully? Of course, Jake had permission from his wife to have fun with other women. Everyone seemed to know this. But since when did Mia get permission to have fun with other men? I don't remember us having that conversation, and I think I would have remembered it. A few minutes later, she asked, "Dinner wasn't digesting well?" That's not the point. I already tore everything out. What? When did this happen? I started feeling sick a few hours ago. I only started vomiting right before I asked you to leave. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. She reached out to take my hand, her eyes still on the road. So, tell me, I asked, did you like it? She looked at me. Oh God, it was so wild. I'm sorry you're feeling bad, but I had so much fun. Really? Tell me. Okay. Well, the first time I went dancing with Jake, he showed me a lot of different moves that he learned in class, you know, the ones we skipped. It lasted, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 songs over half an hour. We then walked around the club. He showed me the different levels and what was on them. I mentioned going back to our table, but he explained that he and Courtney agreed that they wanted each of us to have a nice evening. I'm sure Courtney is doing everything he can to make sure you have a good time too, and is probably doing much the same thing to you that he does to me. Is it true? I asked. What the hell, I thought. Yeah, so we danced a few more times after that. When I told him I was hot and needed to rest, he suggested we cool off by going to other clubs just to see what it was like. So that's what we did. We danced a few songs in each club. When we were in a club for men, there were about 30 men on the dance floor, and I was the only woman. I told Jacathat she had never danced with so many men at the same time before. It made him laugh. I laughed involuntarily. Yes, it's Mia's style, sharp-tongued. Did you like the clubs? That was interesting. I was thinking about you at the ladies' club. I thought you'd enjoy watching them. I'm not sure they'd like to look at me, I remarked. Mia grinned. By the time we got back to the big club, we had been together for about 2 hours. I was cold while walking, and Jake immediately took me out onto the dance floor to warm up. A slow song came on, and we seemed to be swaying in one place. That's when he told me that he and Courtney were switching partners. What? I was in shock. My jaw dropped. She looked at me. You look surprised. He said you, and he discussed it at dinner, and you said you were interested. I turned my head. He mentioned a couple from the sports center who were also doing it and asked what I thought about it. I said that what consenting adults do is their business. I may have used the word interesting. He never said it was him and Courtney. Oh, really? Well, anyway, he told me that he and Courtney decided on the way here that since you're okay with it, if I'm interested too, he'll make sure I have fun with him while Courtney has fun with you. He explained all this. And since you and I have already talked about this. Wait, when did we talk about this? Oh, honey, remember after that New Year's party? When did you and Jim celebrate New Year's? Honey, he danced with me when the countdown started and... You kissed him because he held you at midnight. Of course I remember. That's right, love. We agreed at the time that it wasn't a big deal, and we could try it if we found the right match, and everyone agreed, right? Yes, we said that a couple of years ago. So when Jake told me that you talked to him about it and you were okay with it, I wasn't that surprised. I mean, when you first saw Courtney at the restaurant, I practically had to lift your chin to close your mouth. Remember, I told you not to stare. I remember, I admitted reluctantly, understanding where her thoughts were leading. I immediately understood why you agreed to do this with them. She's like your dream girl. So it seemed like everyone was already on board and the decision was up to me. She looked at me and grinned, and you know how charming Jake is. This guy is really seductive. Despite all my hatred for him, I could not deny that he could sell ice to the Eskimos and charm a snake from its skin, or sell a god he didn't believe in to the gullible souls of ordinary Christians. I snorted. Mia looked at me curiously, not knowing what my snort meant. She shrugged. I didn't say, of course, let's all get into bed together. But I didn't say no. When the song ended, he asked me if I wanted to see his secret kissing room here at the club. What? I asked, as if my jaw had broken again. She grinned. That's exactly what I said, she laughed. He took me upstairs to the DJ booth. It turned out that the DJ was a friend of his. In the back of the booth, behind the DJ, there is a sofa and a coffee table where the DJ can relax between sets. No one can see him, well, except for the DJ, of course. Of course, I agreed dryly. We sat on the couch and talked to the DJ for a bit. His name is Michael, by the way. Then Jake reminded me that this is his kissing room. She giggled and glanced at me. She changed lanes to overtake a slow-moving car. We were only a couple of miles from home. Since no one saw us, we became a little more aggressive than on the dance floor. What do you mean? I asked. She looked at me and winced, as if she was reluctant to tell everything. But she also seemed ready to burst with desire to share with someone. And she told me. A few minutes later, she turned into our driveway, waited for the garage door to open, and drove inside. She turned off the engine. We sat in silence, interrupted only by small clicks and the crackling sound of the cooling engine. Before we go in, Mia suggested, I've been talking a lot about my night. Tell me about your time with Courtney. You had as much fun as Jake, and I did, at least before you got sick. Funny you should ask. I paused, took a deep breath, and let it out. There's no point in ruining the night for both of us. It's late, honey. I want to tell you everything that happened, but I'm tired and still a little sick. Can we talk in the morning? Of course, love, of course, Mia replied. Do you need help? No, I'm better. I just need to relax and take a shower. I needed to wash away the memories of that night as much as possible. It's strange, though. When we walked inside, Mia had no idea how different our nights had been. For her, it was exciting, adventurous, fun, like a mischievous fantasy come true, an exciting memory that she would cherish. For me, it was a night of loneliness, humiliation, embarrassment, nausea, one of the worst nights of my life. The worst was the night my stepfather died. It was close. I'm not exaggerating. That's how bad I felt. The next morning, I woke up in a bad mood. I was sitting in the kitchen with a cup of coffee when Mia came in freshly bathed. You're up early, she remarked, seeing the half-empty coffee pot. Couldn't sleep. Still feeling unwell? She asked with genuine concern. Yes, I confirmed, but probably not for the reason you think. What does it mean? We never discussed how my night went. She poured herself a cup, added sugar, and sat opposite me, stirring the hot liquid. I have all your attention, honey. Judging by your appearance and mood, your time with Courtney wasn't as fun as mine with Jake. What happened? First of all, my time with Courtney lasted a full 3 minutes. What? That's how long we talked before her friend came over to our table. Courtney was excited to see her old friend, who was equally excited to see her, and she invited her to come upstairs to see some other old friends. Courtney apologized and promised that you and Jake will be back from the dance soon. The next time I saw her was 4 hours later. Can't be. Maybe. Damn it. When Jake and I got back, I remember you were all gloomy. Jake called Courtney, and she and her friends came to our table a couple of minutes later. I thought she had just left or something, that you two were together the whole time I was with Jake. No, she left right after you. I spent 4 damn hours sitting alone, looking after bags and coats. Oh shit. Yes, I sat on my ass for a couple of hours, then I got up and tried to find you. I didn't find anyone. I came back and sat on my ass again. 4 hours after you left, you and Jake returned. Until that moment, I was alone. Mia stood up, walked around the table, and knelt down next to me. Her eyes turned red. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She pressed herself against my shoulder. Oh God, honey, I'm so sorry. I swear I didn't know. If I had known you were alone, I would have come back in a heartbeat. Then Courtney came back with her friends just in time to see you and Jake doing your little hug and kiss dance in front of everyone. I stood there like an idiot, amazed. I couldn't believe my eyes. You were kissing another guy right in front of me, in front of everyone. I felt like some pathetic husband whose wife was cheating on him and humiliating him in public. Didn't you hear Courtney's friends giggling while I stood there like an idiot? A weakling husband who was cheated on by his wife in front of everyone. That's why I felt bad. That's when I went to the toilet and vomited, seeing my wife cheating on me in public, humiliating me in the worst way possible. The only thing worse was the night of my stepfather's death. It was close. I'm not exaggerating. That's how bad I felt. A shadow fell on her face. She raised her hands to her mouth. Oh shit. I was like, almost having sex with Jake while you were sitting at a table alone and didn't know where everyone was. Yes. Mia cried. Tears flowed freely now. I can't believe I did that. I messed up. I'm so sorry. I never meant to humiliate you. That's the last thing I wanted to do. I swear I thought you and Courtney were doing the same thing. And when Jake and I kissed in front of you and her friends, I swear I thought her friends thought you were having as much fun with Courtney as I was with Jake, that I wasn't cheating, that we were both. Listen, Mia, what her friends did know was that Courtney was with them all evening. They knew that Courtney and I didn't do anything together at all. That's what they knew. That's why it was so damn humiliating. You and Jake talked about your dances together, about the special dance you came up with, and even showed us. Obviously, you spent a lot of time together, and her friends knew that I was not with Courtney at all. No, left to look after the bags. They giggled and grinned at the weak, pathetic husband who watched his wife having fun with another man. Oh shit. I swear, I didn't know. Mia, stop telling me what I know. I'll tell you what I know. I know you left for 5 minutes to dance, and then stayed with another man for 4 hours without talking to me about it, not finding out exactly what I was doing. I know you did it while I sat alone looking after your damn bag like a complete loser. I know that when you came back everyone was laughing and giggling at me, the weakling, while you made out. With Jake in front of everyone. I stood there like an idiot, a weakling being humiliated by his wife in public, in the worst possible way. That's what I know. Mia jumped up and ran to the bedroom. The door slammed, but I still heard her sobs. Okay, now we both feel bad. This day rolled down like an Olympic toboggan. I took a deep breath, reminding myself that every challenge can be an opportunity. Try to find a silver lining in this dark cloud. To do this, I took out a notepad and pen. What did we learn last night? HM. Courtney is Jake's cheerleader. Their stories always put Jake in the spotlight. The night wasn't about us all having fun, it was about Jake having fun with my wife. Courtney was there to keep me company while Jake had fun with another woman. Courtney made this clear when she didn't want to dance in the beginning and later when she mentioned that everyone knows Jake is allowed to have fun with other women. Her friends were there by chance, which made the problem worse. She left me to be with them and didn't come back because, why not? Jake got his girl for fun. The mission is accomplished in their eyes. What else have we learned? Jake misrepresented our dinner conversation when he relayed it to Mia. In retrospect, not surprising. He boasted of his ability to lie in his former job as a priest. He lied to get the job and didn't care if he preached the truth. Then he lied to me, saying that I agreed to exchange partners for the night. Jake is a deceitful, treacherous, low-life woman stealer. Understood. We learned that Jake loves cars in general, and his precious 71 Kudu in particular. And we found out that his stupid alarm system doesn't have cameras. This might come in handy. We learned that under certain circumstances my wife is ready to exchange partners for dancing, kissing, and little else. Our previous conversation about this possibly happening was theoretical. Now we know that this is definitely possible, at least for her. She bought into Jake's chatter and enjoyed it. Even though I was upset with myself, I was still happy for her and the joy and emotion she exuded as she told me about her evening. My night was a complete disappointment, culminating in me being dazed and humiliated. But Mia is right about my initial attraction to Courtney. If things had been handled differently, if the evening had been planned with everyone agreeing to the exchange from the start, and there had been no unexpected girlfriends, perhaps we would all have gone home happy. I mulled over the possibility and decided that, maybe yes, I would definitely be for it. Time to talk. Mia, can I come in? I heard sobs and a muffled yes. She lay curled up in a fetal position on the bed, one pillow under her head, the other pressed against her body. I lay down next to her. Do you still love me? She asked through sobs. Of course I do. I'm angry about last night, but my anger comes from the many things that combined to make this night terrible. The one mistake you made was only a small part of what happened. She turned her head to look at me. Yes, the way I see it, you made one mistake. You trusted Jake and Courtney. Everything you did was a result of your trust in others. You believed that Courtney would be with me. Why not? Who would leave someone who was invited for an evening? No less. No one does that. Of course, you trusted that Courtney was with me. You trusted Jake and his skill in deception. You believed what he said. You are a very kind person who trusts others. Is it really bad? I would rather be with someone who is too trusting than with someone who cannot be trusted. You are still the woman I love. I kissed her forehead and hugged her. I'm so sorry you had such a terrible evening, she whispered. We lay there, silently hugging, for several minutes. Despite what happened to me, I'm glad you enjoyed it so much, I whispered. Is it true? Of course. I wish I could have fun too, but I enjoy seeing you smile, seeing you light up. You were literally bursting with the desire to tell me everything that happened. That sparkle in your eyes lit up the car. She sat up and wiped her eyes. I sat down too and took her hands in mine. I love you. I want you to always be happy. Seeing the joy on your face brings joy to my heart. Mia squeezed my hands. I don't want to be the only one having fun, and I would never want to hurt you. I want to see joy on your face too. I hope you know that. I smiled. I made a list of what I learned last night. This caused a little laughter. You and your lists, she smiled. Yes, me and my lists. Well, there was one very interesting item on this list. Which? I lay down on the bed and pulled her towards me. I rolled over onto her. Looking into her eyes, I said, I've learned that my sexy wife is truly open to partner swapping if we find the right match. She blushed. I smiled, seeing how quickly her cheeks could turn red. So, I said, I thought, if we can plan this together and get everyone really on board, we might have fun times ahead. I raised my head and looked into her eyes. She giggled. I raised my head to speak. Let's imagine how last night might have gone. She frowned. Not with Jake and Courtney. Let's pretend it was, say, David and Julie. Mia raised one eyebrow and smiled. Do you think they would change? No idea, but I know you like David, and I won't kick Julie out of bed. We both laughed. So, let's imagine what could happen if we went there with David and Julie, okay? Let's replace the memory of last night with a new one that we can come up with now. I imagine. Tell me, what happens when we get there with David and Julie? I told her the plan, and then we made love. Can I take that as a yes? I asked, laughing. She responded with a giggle and nudged me in the side. I continued. Seriously, love, we can leave this as pillow talk, or if you want, we can see if David and Julie want to go dancing. I'm ready either way, I said, looking at the ceiling. You find their number, I'll make a call. I laughed. She giggled. Then she rose up on her elbow and looked into my eyes with a thoughtful expression. Are we okay now? I gently ran my hand over her cheek. We've never been better, honey. 3 weeks later, Jake returned from lunch. He stopped as he passed his beloved 1971 Cuda with a $14 dozen plum crazy paint job. What the heck? He shouted. His assistant ran out. Together, they examined the long scratch that ran from the front bumper to the driver's side taillight. His assistant could not explain what happened other than people were looking at the car, and as always, the voice alarm went off several times. Crap, take it, Jake shouted into the air. He stomped his foot, turned around, and shouted with rage. We'll still have to pay someone to connect these damn cameras. Life is beautiful. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think. Click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next one.